Yeah, Shi, I'll get to you in 1 second. Just to kind of bring it back to the play after all this, which is like some super great points. But I think one of the things that is
Super
key.
great. Not what we talking about.
Well, no, I just think one of the things that I think is key with the play is, it does kind of touch on what everybody's saying. It's less about people and more about what the other characters are saying about it.
Right.
Like when you see the scene with Scotty and Ted in the like the greenhouse, the little side cottage where it storms, nothing happens with them in that scene, but it's the gardener who finds them that starts the process. You know, nothing is going on. We don't necessarily see that anything is going on with Billy and Teddy in the farm, but it's Haley, the friend, who's spreading the rumors that starts the process with Gloucester. So it's less about the actions of these people and sometimes so much more about the perception of the actions, I think is something that Crothers hits on really interesting with this play. Shia, sorry, I saw your hand up. I just wanted to get that in.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was going to bounce off of what Andre had said earlier about how, you know, both Ted and Scotty were doing things, and the only one that was getting chastised for it was Ted. And what I was going to say was that is something that still happens today. You know, the perfect example is, you know, you have a guy who's bragging about, I slept with 10 girls this week. Ooh, you the man, you the man. Let a girl say, I slept with 2 guys this week. You're a slut, you're a whore. There's a whole shaming factor. And it's almost like it's a societal thing. Society has a different expectation for men versus women. And women are, even till to today, with all the freedom and autonomy that we try to have, we're still marginalized. We're still, you know, having the government trying to tell us what to do with our bodies. We're still having to worry about reputation and perception of society. And that's something that translates from a play that was written in 1921. You know, it's still something that is applicable today.
Still being sent home because you have a tank top on in class.
And it's crazy. That's crazy to me. Your bra strap is showing, and it's going to distract not only the boys, but the male teachers.
Yeah.
And instead of you, like, instead of saying, you know what, we're concerned about a specific male teacher who would be distracted by a female student's bra who is a minor, and maybe we should talk to that male teacher. Maybe we shouldn't have him teaching here. Maybe we should keep him away from minors. We're going to chastise this young girl and prioritize making her feel shameful about her body and her reputation and the perception that she's putting out versus what this male teacher is doing. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's crazy that is the world prioritizes the importance and the value of women.
Well, this total, I saw a tweet the other day that was like, women are encouraged to stay inside or travel in groups because there was a stabbing. A man stabbed a couple of women, and then her response was, why don't you encourage men to not stab women instead?
Yeah.
Well, that's just not the conversation we're having.
And along with those lines is when the Me Too movement was happening. Mm-hmm. Women are coming out and finally having the courage to be like, you know what, I was harassed in a certain way or violated in a certain way. And the response was like, well, now I have to protect my son. Now men can't talk to women because they're going to be Me Too. And it's like, well, maybe you should have a conversation with the men about not treating women a certain way. Maybe you should have that conversation with the men and teach them how to respect a woman and her body and her choice and right to say no to you without you feeling that you have to violate her because she rejected you. And that's the way that the society thinks. And it's the same thing that's going on in this play. Here you have a woman who is independent. Well, she's not financially independent, but she's, you know, headstrong. She knows her kids. She wasn't allowed. There's no shame. And everyone in her circle is shaming her for her choices versus saying, you know what, I know the kind of the father. I know the kind of woman that I raised, and I know that her mother raised her right, and I can trust my daughter to make grown woman decisions instead, and telling society and everyone that's gossiping, like, you know what, I need you to respect my daughter. But we're gonna believe what society says and believe the perception that society puts on Teddy, because unfortunately in society, women are undervalued and seen lesser than.
And even when she tells the truth, she's like, I am telling you the truth.
No.
And no one believes her anyway.
Well, I mean that goes back to the rape culture too, of always encouraging women like, oh, men are dangerous, don't go out alone, dress conservatively. But then as soon as they say, hey, this happened, oh, we don't believe you, you were raped. It's exactly the same thing.
You told me this, what happened?
What were you wearing?
I was wearing a full turtleneck. So.
Carissa, sorry, I saw your hand up a little bit earlier.
Oh no, my good old girlfriend, she yelled and did everything I was about to say. So I was like, well, ain't no need for me to say no more because she done did it.
I'm sorry.
It's all right, girl. You did it more eloquently than I would have. There would have been a whole lot of bitches and motherfuckers in that segment. So
Well, now it is.
So one thing I thought was interesting, I found a quote about Rachel Crothers and the work that she was doing. So she was part of an old girls network of theater professionals that came about in like the 1920s. And when she was asked about it in a 1931 interview about how she had been able to make such a successful career in a male-dominated field of playwriting, directing, casting, all of the things that she did, she said, for a woman, it's best to look to women for help. Women are more daring. They are glad to take the most extraordinary choices. I think I should have been longer about my destiny if I had to battle with men alone. And actresses who she worked with were incredibly appreciative of the roles that she created for them. And leading parts in her plays were performed by people like Ethel Barrymore, Estelle Winwood, Catherine Cornell, Gertrude Lawrence.
I think that's really a big deal now to have well-rounded female characters. I mean, even with the Brechtel test, like how many plays or shows or movies are centered around, even when there's a female lead, where they can't go the entire time without having an infatuation with a dude and making that the conversation, and their whole world revolves around the men, you know, like it's so rare now still. So to have a female playwright writing a strong female character denouncing what society expects of her today still would be an amazing role to have. And then to have it written and direct you through the eyes of a woman who understands the experience rather than a man writing about the female experience is also incredibly wonderful. And I wish there were more opportunities still today for that.
Yes.
Audrey?
So I feel like, this is an opinion piece here, I feel like Broadway, a lot of movies, things like that, are geared towards what will sell and geared towards, who buys tickets to Broadway shows. Let's call it old people.
Old white people.
Old white people. So they're putting on shows and pieces of art that are palatable to said audience. And for the young people and the tourists, we're putting on movie musicals because we know the movie did well, so therefore everyone is familiar with this and they'll love it. Hashtag death to Spider-Man. But
not the Miles Morales one though.
Not the what?
The Miles Morales one.
That was but the show.
Yeah,
but the musical.
The musical Spider-Man. No. I love Spider-Man. Let it be known. the musical was an interesting piece of work. But when you cater to that mindset of the public, you don't normalize this progressive thought where the people who are actually in the pieces, who are doing the work, where they live in the art. You're like, a screenwriter submits a piece to a producer and they go, cool. So we're gonna change all this shit that I don't think is gonna work, that's gonna make more money. And that's it. So I feel like what Schitt's Creek is doing is they're presenting this piece of a gay couple being a totally normal thing in their country bumpkin environment. And like, that's fine. And so people start to learn when they see, yes, this is a normal thing. This is okay. I don't have to be afraid of this because no one is trying to turn my child into something that I don't want them to be. So I feel like with theater like this, where you're given, where you take advantage of the platform, and you kind of go, yeah, I don't really care who's going to come see it, but someone will, and someone may be like, yes, this is a normal thing. And the more you do it, the more comfortable they become, the more it normalizes the situation, and the less chaotic it feels. And then, obviously someone will find something to complain about at some point, because we always can, because we're human and that's what we do. But I don't even know where I was going with this. That's my 2 cents.
That's a good one. Jose, I saw your hand pop up.
Nani? What?
I think there's something to be said about, kind of similar to what you're saying, and kind of similar to like trying to like bring it all back together. Even trying to answer that question that Ethan threw about, some of these bad consequences happen because somebody spoke that they saw Teddy in, with Scotty, and there's another guy. And it's like, who do we listen to and why? And I think when it comes to the idea of, one, acceptance in society, and and just making a positive change, like, do we have to listen to country bumpkin guy 47 who's tweeting shit? Like, is that guy worth talking to? Or do we make the effort to talk to people that are immediately around us, and any of the gatekeepers who would be like, if you were like, hey, I want to put on a music video like WAP, or I want to depict these people in these places, or I want to showcase voices that haven't been heard. I don't care what some rando thinks, or like whether he thinks that's okay or not. I'm gonna care if the producer is gonna be okay with it. I'm gonna care if the producer is gonna give me notes that are gonna undermine or undercut the message. And I think that's where efforts need to maybe coincide to make people buy into that. And I will say, with Schitt's Creek, that stuff was talked about. It wasn't just like they're gay and we're not going to talk about it and it's just accepted. Like, there's an episode where the dad is like, I don't know what to do about my son. Like, I don't know, he likes this and he likes that, and it's weird, and I don't know what to do with it. And somebody talks to him and is like, hey, all you need to do is accept it. And the same thing with Patrick, who's also gay, but is in his first gay relationship. He talks a lot about what that's like, and having to kind of pretend to have these heterosexual relationships, and how difficult that was for him. Like, these things are talked about. And again, I think that's the important part. But I think it's who we talk to that matters. But I mean, okay, I don't know. That's the way I've been approaching. Because like again,
so one quick thing I want to mention before, and then I saw Andre and Chio's hands pop up. With this show, I think one of the things that is important, specifically with kind of what we've talked about with getting that representation in theater and places like that is, and it's something I think we've seen in other plays that we've read. When you read something like Seminar by Theresa Rebeck, which we did a couple weeks ago, that was a play written by a woman, but it didn't really feel like it had a lot with the women characters. We kind of talked about everybody feeling a little one-dimensional, and then you hit Four Dogs and a Bone, and you feel the power of everybody in the room. And I think one of the things that Rachel does very well is she created that creative group of women to be a part of everything. So when you're in the room, the writer might not have as much power, but if the director is also a woman and the producers are also a woman, like all of a sudden you have so many voices in that room that can control the narrative and control how the show is going to be presented and put forward. I think that's something that's really important, specifically in what she did. I think something that would be important, like obviously moving forward in the creative world. Shio, and then Andre, and then Amanda, I saw your my point.
Yeah.
So I forgot what I was going to say.
That's
So
okay.
You can go to the next person.
I think you had a reaction when I was saying something. I don't know what.
That doesn't really help, but thank you.
Reaction to me
It's like I had a
talking
reaction
in the
to a
play.
lot of things, okay?
I react to everything. You're all wrong. No, I appreciate it, but yes, I forgot what my point was. So
That's okay. If it comes back up, we'll get around to it. Andre?
I feel like maybe I have a few points, but one of the problems I think that we have, at least when it comes to like this world we live in, we do a lot of like, well, that's just how it is, and then people kind of like wipe their hands with it, like, oh, that's just how boys are, that's just how men are, you know, and it can't be helped, you know. That's one point. I feel like we still do it in society. Somebody mentioned rappers. That's just how rappers are. Like, they are able to do this. You know, they can talk like that. But, you know, female rappers, you got to watch it. You can't do that much. I feel like me personally, I feel like the society, we talk too much about like the differences between men and women, and it's not enough of, this is a human being. This is not how you treat a human being. That's where I think we should start. Like, this is a person that thinks and speaks and is like you. Start there. And that's probably what we should do with everyone. Kids, maybe, yeah, start with the kids. This is a person, you know, and that's, I just feel like that's where we need to start. We don't have those conversations. It's always like, but as a man, here's what you do. As a woman, you got to protect yourself from this because this is how the world is. And it's just like, maybe if we start it where it's just like, you're a human being, treat other people the way you want to be fucking treated. You might have a better life. No, not that you might. You will have a better life. Okay, there is no differences between a man and a woman in this society, and we have to start doing that. And then when we are met with this kind of like, these kind of assholes, I guess we can say, you'll know how to deal with them. You'll see them as a person. You're not just a white, old, rich man. You are a human being, and you know, you learn some shitty things, and that's where we can start. But and then for Schitt's Creek, I think the reason why a lot of people said that it wasn't a big deal, because it wasn't a struggle. It wasn't this like owning of my child because he was queer. It wasn't it wasn't hostile.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel hostility. And yes, it was a comedy, but there's so much, you get so much emotionally invested in these characters that maybe bringing in homophobia would ruin that. You know, it just wasn't a show of like, let's show all this hostility and let's have them struggle and let's teach kids that you have to overcome something rather than like building a society where like you don't have to overcome this thing, you know. And I hate to be like a bring up a being a black man, but like I don't want to teach my kid that like you got to worry about being a black man.
Mm-hmm.
I would not want to still, I would not want my kid to say, I got to march for something. It's like, I think for me, I don't get it. We're just people. And the last thing with the whole rumors thing, we are people who love fucking drama.
Mm-hmm.
Like we eat it up. We rather watch someone, and that's the other thing about Schitt's Creek. You rather watch someone fucking struggle and like claw their way to the top instead of watching someone be happy. You know what I mean? I feel like rumors get passed around so easily because we love fucking rumors. We love it. We feed into that shit. But that's all. I'm sorry to go on a ramble. Cheers.
Oh, it's all good. Amanda?
I was gonna say, I wanted to, like, so it's so hard because it starts, I absolutely agree. The idea that we're all human is absolutely beautiful. But it starts so young. I remember being in like 4th grade, and in health class, they separated the boys and the girls. Yeah. And you had to go into a different room and watch about how your body was going to change. And they gave you a goodie bag of a tampon and a maxi pad and made you watch a video about how you were going to get your period. Meanwhile, the boys were in the other classroom playing puzzle games. And then all the girls went, this is in my school, I don't know. And then all the girls got back to their 4th grade classroom and ran to the back into their little lockers that they had. And we like hid the things. We were ashamed already because the boys weren't there. It's dirty. Don't talk about it. Oh my God. And it was so embarrassing. And so that kind of embarrassment starts at such a young age. Yeah. And then early or later in my school, we did like the stupid careers day thing where you got to pick like 6 different things that day instead of your regular classes. But all the female students were required to go to another Know Your Body Better class.
The fuck?
Where the boys could pick all 6 things.
Girl, where did you go? Oh, what the hell?
Long Island.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and we all had to go to this stupid class and ask questions that like we'd be too embarrassed to ask otherwise, but like you're the one that made us embarrassed starting all the way back in elementary school.
And
you're muted.
Separation.
You.
That one causes men to think that like getting grossly misinformed information about how women's bodies work.
Yeah, why is that bad to know?
Yeah.
Gas stations,
and also
where you
like,
go and you buy tampons, they like double bag it for you. I'm like, don't you double bag? Everyone knows.
I was just about to say that.
Right?
Don't worry, ma'am. I got you. Here's a cardboard box.
Yeah, no, right?
I'm gonna put it in wrapping paper. It'll be really, really pretty paper.
Straight up, in Japan, they put them in paper bags. They will pull out like a tampon box size of like a paper bag specifically for you to take
to hide it
inside of a plastic bag. And I'm like,
That's insane.
Every man a fucking.
But then the paper bag shows that you have the tampons anyway, so.
Yeah, but boys are
What?
stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
If you're giving out plastic bags, sorry, this is so off topic, but if you're giving out plastic bags and then
It's
be like, oh, you have
thanks.
tampons, here's a paper bag, and you're the only one with a paper bag, and then doesn't that scream right there?
But they don't know.
Anyway, but it doesn't matter either way.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I will say
he
too.
said.
Wait, but back to your point about seminar, because the thing that I made the face at is that
Just leave the chat even.
while it was written by a female and the men were the more central characters, there was definitely a lot of sentences or moments with I forget the character's name, but how she wasn't sleeping with the teacher because she was better than that, or like she wasn't a hoe. And then at the end, she is there without pants on, clearly had just slept with the instructor. And he's like, I can't believe you did that.
Wait,
and like shamed her as well from
Mhm.
seminar. So
Yeah.
they do poke it at that kind of slut shaming in that play as well. And then somebody and a woman using their body for their advantage to get ahead, knowing that that's what the male societal wants, and playing into that being a bad thing is repeated in that play as well.
And the component that everyone likes to overlook is that, well, you can't do it by yourself. I mean, you can, but in this situation, you weren't. There's the male counterpart, and he gets to walk away scot-free. No judgment, no ill repute, no questions, no shame. But as a woman, I mean, there's a whole phrase for it, the walk of shame. Why is it only applicable to women and not to men? Like, it's just bizarre. It's bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Ethan.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's all good. So just while we wrap up here, some final thoughts on the play, if anybody has anything else to add, or...
Thanks to the men for listening to us while we repeatedly shout over you. Because it's the only way we're heard.
Gotta be loud.
Yeah, thank you for not coming in with the, well, actually.
Yes.
For thanking you.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
We love you guys, and
I think they know they would have been
great
shot down
allies
real
to
quick.
us.
Somebody would have got cut.
I feel like after you would have done this reading, you probably would have been like, you know what, I should go. We're gonna discuss this after. This was fun, guys.
I'm SpongeBob meme. I'm just head on out.
I see where this is going.
I mean, I think my final thought is just how crazy is that a play from 1921 is still relatable to today. And it's really unfortunate that we have to say that. You know, it's crazy for me because my great grandmother was born in 1921. She's still alive today. We just celebrated her 99th birthday a few months ago. The fact that I know stories of things that she's gone through as a young woman during these times, and just like this play, I can still relate to some of those issues as a woman, being raised with a family where perception is really important, especially as a Latin woman. You know, you want to be careful because people have perceptions of a Latin woman. Like a lot of things that I used to hear growing up was like, oh, you're Latina, you're gonna have like 3 kids by the time you're 15. And I'm like, I'm 10 years old. Why are you telling me these things? You know, there's a lot of stuff that we as women have to endure, and we don't ask for it. And I love the fact that the main character of this play from 1921, you know, is just kind of gung-ho and just like, it is what it is, my dude. Like, I'm gonna live my life the way that I want to live my life, whether you like it or not. And I love that they were able to write this character, and I love that they created this controversy. I love that it was an issue. I love, because it isn't until we have these controversies and these issues and these topics to talk about, to discuss, to make us feel things, to have all these conversations, nothing's going to change, you know. And here we are today, still kind of having these same topics with a little bit more of that freedom, but now with some of that freedom, you know, in danger, but being able to break down walls and break down societal expectations, and seeing a lot of more plays, TV shows, movies, and films starting to be written with and by women, leading with women, and seeing how society is interested in these things and how things are starting to change is an amazing thing. But we still have to keep in the back of our mind that we can still relate to a play that was written in 1921.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and there's still a lot more progress that still needs to be made.
Anybody else?
I can't believe how much of this play could be related to Schitt's Creek as somebody who has never seen Schitt's Creek.
Anything can be
Give
related
me
to
any
Schitt's
topic,
Creek.
I will bring it back.
Mm-hmm.
And Levy, I love you.
All right, guys. Well, thank y'all for this. We appreciate it. And we will see you guys in a few weeks.